Andrea Phillips, she is the wife of Captain Richard Phillips. He is the detained captain that was seized by these Somali pirates. She is due to make a very brief statement to reporters in Underhill, Vermont. It's about 25 miles or so east of Burlington, Vermont, I understand. She's not going to take questions, but she is going to update us on how the family's doing and if she has heard indeed from her husband. When she speaks, we'll be there. Meanwhile, out of the pan into the fire, the president jumping into the immigration fight in the middle of this economic crisis. He is reportedly working on a plan to make 12 million illegal immigrants legal citizens. J.D. Hayward says that this is no time to be pushing amnesty when regular Americans, legal Americans, are hurting for jobs. The former Arizona congressman joining me right now. What do you make of just the timing of this, J.D.?
Well, Neil, it's very obvious what's going on. The White House believes that President Obama has enough personal appeal to the public and that his bad decisions have not caught up in the collective consciousness that they're going to move forward with a very bold plan for amnesty to get these illegals onto the voters' rolls so that they can ensure their political future. This is not for the economic benefit of the United States. This is for the political benefit of Team Obama.
Let me ask you, as the senator from your fine state, John McCain, has said there has to be some sort of a path to citizenship. If there is something like that, if the Obama administration is saying, look, you can't ship these 12 million people back, there are many who argue, yeah, you can, but if you take that premise, are you open, do you think the nation would be open, even in a hurting economic time like now, to such a path? I guess it depends on the path, right?
Well, the path is amnesty, and the fact is John McCain will be there alongside Barack Obama. He will be pushing this amnesty plan. You and I have talked about it before. A lot of traditional Republicans look at cheap labor, and of course the Democrats are looking for cheap votes. Not everybody on either side, of course, and this is where the vast majority of the American people have to rise up and be heard. And I would just caution Senator McCain. Senator, you may think this is a display of leadership. I think most Arizonans interpret it as yet another display of arrogance, and I would think long and hard about reintroducing amnesty with Barack Obama and foisting it upon the people of Arizona and the people of America.
You know, J.D., since this story blew up again, I've been getting emails from a lot of residents of this country who have been going through the citizenship process. One woman was telling me she's in the 5th year of this process and hopes to be a citizen by the end of next month. How are they going to feel about this?
Well, that is exactly the point, Neil. I hear from so many people who have lined up and tried to do this the right way, and it comes down to a basic question of fairness. To those who want to become Americans the right way, we say welcome. To those who want to break in line, we should not only say no, we should say hell no, and the American people, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Vegetarian, should say enough. Enough to Barack Obama, enough to John McCain, enough to the moneyed interest, and enough to the cynical political manipulators who believe they are getting A, either money, or B, votes out of trying to circumvent the system with yet another run at amnesty.
What would you do with those 12 million? And I know you think the number is substantially larger than that, but what would you do?
Well, again, and this, you know, Neil, I'm struck by that about this time. You and I had this same discussion involving yet another president. And at that time, I said, let's enforce existing laws. And you know what happens when you enforce the law? People understand that they can go back home. This notion of forced deportation is a straw man. It is exploited by members of both parties to try and blur the lines, along with the inevitable catcalls and accusations of racism for those of us who dare stand up for the rule of law. But the fact is, when you enforce the law, people will understand it is in their best interest to return home. I would remind you, in the wake of 9/11, we had some 12,000 Pakistanis voluntarily deport when suddenly the progenitor of ICE started checking passport status. And that was without any type of, quote, crackdown, just checking on status. When you enforce the law, you have an effect. We've seen it here in Arizona. You've seen the stories about people actually returning to our neighboring Mexican state of Sonora, and the Sonora state complaining that its citizens are returning home.
J.D., we'll watch you closely. Thank you very much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you, Neil.
In the meantime, the wife of that American captain held hostage by Somali pirates set to speak at any moment. When she does, we will bring it to you live in Vermont. But first, Glenn Beck is taking on left-wing organizations, taking on us for covering these Tea Party protests. He's next. USA!